next presenter is from Cushing Academy from Massachusetts.
I'm Raul. I'm from like an hour up the road in Mountain View, California.
I'm Oliver. I'm from New York.
I'm Frank Knight from Shanghai, China.
And we'd like to welcome you to our presentation. So we'd first like to start off with a website that our program has created. It's kind of like a archive and repository for past projects, as well as a vessel for our current project. And when you log onto the main page, you will find first a detailed map with current nuclear stockpiles and up-to-date numbers on each country that has declared itself a nuclear weapon state. And if you scroll down further, you would find a hypothetical posed to you. And the hypothetical states that if you are in fact ready to launch a nuclear weapon, which this is unknown the consequences because none are listed there yet, you would press the red button. So, Frank, come on, list one for us. If you should press the red button, there's a list of consequences that will pop up, and we encourage you to read through all of them before you say you're ready to launch a nuclear weapon. But if you do read through them and you still decide that it is viable to launch a nuclear weapon, then you would click what Frank just clicked. And that would lead you to our mini project one, which I'm sure we've all seen. So should we Frank, let's go through with that, please. So basically, our mini project outlines the inner workings of nuclear weapons and the consequences outlining and surrounding the launch of said nuclear weapons, both international in terms of physical consequences as well as social and relationship consequences between nations, as well as numbers estimating the number of weapons and or states that have weapons. So if I can move us along here. So if you decide not to launch a nuclear weapon, like a social or just a human being, you would click on turn back and click go to site instead. And this would take you to our main project, which we're going to get to later in the presentation. But first, we'd like to tell you a little bit about us, and Oliver will take it away from there.
So this is a page where we each did a little bio of all the kids in the CIF program. So click on Raul's picture. Here's our friend Raul. He joined CIF because the end of the world doesn't necessarily have to come from forces outside this planet. All right, so let's move on. So this is a page where we post articles that we find relevant to our current project, our nuclear non-proliferation in general. So you can just, there's a lot of interesting articles. We can just scroll through and read some. Thank you, Frank. Big hand for Frank May. So this is our archive of our past projects going back to 2010. They're all YouTube videos, so you just have to watch them. It's like watching a little movie. And here's where you can contact us with any comments, questions, complaints. If you need a friend to talk to, a shoulder to cry on, we're here for you.
Please talk to us, please.
We don't have any friends.
No.
So now, I think it's time to move on to our main project.
I think so.
I think so. You ready?
Are you ready? That's the question. Cushing Academy, 2013-2014 CIF program. Nuclear non-proliferation, global opportunities and regional challenges. Untying the knot, understand the enmity and nuclear dangers of the Indo-Pakistani relationship. The war alone is terrifying enough, yet no one considers much about the consequences of a nuclear war. With the technological advancements we have today, a nuclear war between India and Pakistan will no doubt trigger World War III.
One of the most devastating impacts will be a global famine that could kill more than 2 billion people. Side effects will include economic turmoil and disastrous atmospheric conditions. A third party predicted to be hugely affected is China, with over 1.3 billion people and only the Himalayas acting as the natural border between the two countries. The war will nonetheless cause a devastating impact in the developing country, and the consequences will be unimaginable.
Experts stated that the black carbon particles launched into the atmosphere would reduce corn and soybean production, the main food source of the United States, by 10% over a decade. It's 1% per year. If the war triggers larger wars due to previous tensions, other countries such as the United States and Russia may get involved. The human race will no doubt be able to biologically survive the conflict, but UN leaders have not ruled out the possibility of the extinction of the human race.
In 1947, the British Raj, the period of British rule in the subcontinent of India, came to an end after 89 years, and the area was reorganized into two countries, the Dominion of India and the Dominion of Pakistan. Immediately following their creation, these two nations were at odds over many things, the most prominent of which was the dispute over the land of Kashmir. Both countries have their reasons for why they feel entitled to the land of Kashmir, and after almost 70 years, the problem seems impossible to solve. Because neither country has been able to get what they want through peaceful negotiation, they quickly turn to violence, engaging in 3 wars over the territory. Over the years, this violence has escalated into an arms race that has created a situation where both countries now possess nuclear weapons. Today, tension between India and Pakistan is higher than ever, and the idea that one of them might use their nuclear weapons seems more and more likely each day. If this did happen, the results would no doubt be catastrophic and have dire implications worldwide.
Both India and Pakistan are not members of the Treaty on the Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons, NPT, or the Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty, CTBT. According to the 2013 SIPRI Yearbook, the Indian arsenal comprises 90 to 110 warheads, and it is estimated in 2013 that Pakistan has stockpiled about the same number. New Delhi embarked on a nuclear explosives program in 1964, which culminated in the May 1974 test of a peaceful nuclear experiment. Following 5 nuclear tests in May 1998, India then formally declared itself a nuclear weapon state. India and the United States announced a nuclear cooperation initiative in July 2005 that would permit New Delhi to participate in international nuclear trade under certain conditions. In 2008, New Delhi negotiated a limited safeguards agreement with the International Atomic Energy Agency, IAEA. Subsequently, in September 2008, the Nuclear Suppliers Group removed the ban on India's participation in nuclear trade with its members. India has since signed nuclear cooperation agreements with several countries. Pakistan started its development of nuclear devices since the mid-1980s. Shortly after India's first testing series in May 1998, Islamabad conducted its own nuclear tests and declared itself a nuclear weapon state. Pakistan also received assistance from states, especially China, which has been providing Islamabad with various levels of nuclear and missile-related assistance. In respect to non-proliferation documents, both countries have engaged in few, and none have an effective regulation of nuclear weapons. India issued a nuclear doctrine in 1999 that broadly outlined India's nuclear no-first-use policy and defensive posture of credible minimum nuclear deterrence. Yet it fails to control India from ever using a nuclear weapon under certain situations, such as in retaliation for a biological or chemical weapon attack, should Indians be operating in Pakistan at the time. On the other hand, the India-Pakistan non-attack agreement describes the nuclear installation or facility and requires each party to inform the other of the precise locations of installations and facilities, which is as well ineffective because it does not provide for detailed disclosures of nuclear-related activities.
The World Bank is an international organization founded in 1944. It was founded by several different countries for the purpose of loaning money to developing nations and combating poverty worldwide. How it works is, countries contribute money to the bank, and based on the amount of their contribution, they get more or less say in how the money is used. The World Bank has sent money to several places in Africa for things like schools and hospitals, and has greatly improved quality of life for thousands of people. It is also a great example of different countries coming together for the greater good. The World Bank is a model of a possible solution as well as part of it, because money is the best way to diffuse international tensions. The fact is, Pakistan is financially hurting, as it has been argued a failed state. Its people have low morale and a negative outlook on their future. Their country struggles to modernize and, much like India, their government is rife with corruption. The World Bank serves as a repository for foreign aid. This will help to decrease resentment and set forth a path to resolution through a tying of economic interests, which we will speak more on later in the presentation. Many countries can be a part of the solution. For example, the United States, the European Union, and China can all be contributing partners in an effort to contribute a portion of their GDP in a constructive way of supporting the International Monetary Fund. As quoted from the purposes from Article 1 of the IMF, the organization's stated objectives are to promote international economic cooperation, international trade, employment, and exchange rate stability as a means to stabilize economic health of member states.
A joining of economic interests between India and Pakistan is the best way to resolve the conflict between the two nations. Money has always been able to bring countries together, and when India and Pakistan started to make nuclear threats, American corporations threatened to pull out of the nations, and peace, though short-lived, was achieved. As such, excuse me, my cards are out of order. Furthermore, as the world is moving to a steady pace towards complete globalization, many key components of national economies span across borders, such as Apple's factories in China. On this subject, the RAND Corporation writes, "The two economies are linked with each other and the rest of the world in a manner unparalleled in history. The operation of mutually assured economic destruction," which is what this concept is called, when two economies are aligned together, and as such, should a nuclear weapon be launched, both economies would face destruction. The two economies are linked to each other and with the rest of the world in a manner unparalleled in history. The operation of MAED is somewhat different from classic mutual assured destruction, MAD. It is at least theoretically possible to limit the escalation of a military clash to the sub-nuclear level. It is not possible to so limit the economic consequences. China is not going to continue buying US Treasury notes while the American and Chinese navies clash somewhere off Taiwan or in the South China Sea. And Apple is not going to be shipping iPads from its factories in China. Sorry about that. Some examples of economic alliances that have fostered peace are NAFTA, the European Coal Community, and the EU. We'll start with NAFTA. NAFTA allowed for a stream of goods from Canada through the US to Mexico and then back up again. This being in contrast with the astronomical tariffs and duties on American goods in Mexico and Mexican goods imported to America. Another example of economic alliances being used to heal past wounds, no matter how raw or recent, is the creation of the European Coal Community, an alliance concerning coal and steel production between France and Germany. As well as being economically viable, this new system also served to heal both historic and post-war tensions between the two nations by extending a hand to Germany. As Hitler's meteoric rise to power was facilitated by Germany's outrage and embarrassment after the defeat in World War I, it was paramount to the success of the nation for the international community and the victorious party to make sure that Germany felt welcome. Much like Germany, Pakistan has historically been seen as the dark horse when compared to India. Especially after the 26/11 attacks on Mumbai and the killing of bin Laden on Pakistani soil, tensions have never been higher between the two nations. Should Pakistan and India be treated like France and Germany after World War II, in combination with foreign aid for Pakistan's ailing economy and financial situation, and the Indian cession of claim to Kashmir, then a path for healing will be set between the two nations. While it does indeed require a willingness on both sides to come to an agreement, the conflict will be solved or at least greatly diffused should each nation have a proper incentive to reach a place where peace becomes a viable option. So we'd like to thank you for listening to our presentation. So we'll now take questions from the audience, concerns, comments, words of advice, anything.
Any questions? Oh, please.
Yes. Given the tension between India and China, how does, and then China's relationship with Pakistan, how does China sort of figure in to this equation? Or I don't know if you looked at that, but your thoughts would be wonderful.
I sort of, and this is just again personal opinion, I have nothing to cite on this, so just for people one, but I personally would think China would be seen as sort of a polarizing entity between India and Pakistan, someone who's sort of driving a wedge by arming Pakistan. And while I believe that, and again, this is what I believe, that America and India have their own alliances, I feel like Pakistan is also reaching out to the international community, and it may be not in the way for peace. And I feel like China is not helping to facilitate peace between the two nations. Anybody else? All right. Thank you.